You're listening to the Leader by Design podcast, and on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the final two habits, the last two habits of highly effective people. So if that is interesting to you, becoming more highly effective, then stay tuned. We also have an extra special guest here today, which we'll introduce after our intro. So highly effective people, the last two habits. Stay tuned if that's interesting to you. G'day, I'm Brendan Rogers. I've built a thriving business creating confident leaders who achieve the results they always wanted, along with the lifestyle they always dreamed of. How do you become a confident leader? By focusing on three key areas: developing character, building competence, and creating connection. This is the Leader by Design podcast. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Brendan Rogers, and I have my co-host here.
Hello, back again.
Who's back again?
Emi's back.
Emi's back. And Emi, we have somebody here. Would you like to introduce this extra special guest who we've got?
A very special guest with us, my advisor, Tim Walsh.
My first ever podcast.
First ever podcast, Tim. Awesome. And we might, the audio may not be as good as we normally are because we're having to share microphones. Unfortunately, I was ill prepared and I didn't grab another microphone. But Tim, welcome to the Leader by Design podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I've heard a lot about it from Emi. Been listening along too in the journey. Had a few shout outs along the way. So it's great to be here.
Mate, awesome to have you. We've had a bit of a catch up out the back this morning, so poor Emi's had to listen to us talk about all sorts of rubbish, but it is great to see you. And how about very quickly, let's do a quick catch up on our week. Emi, how's your week been?
Had a very good week. Finalised exhibition slides and prepared for next week, which is awesome. Finishing sport. We had swimming for sport yesterday, which was lots of fun. Yeah, it's actually been a really good week. It has been, yeah. Fantastic.
And this whole exhibition, everything we've been doing over sort of recent weeks, the last 5 or 6 weeks, has been leading up to this exhibition. So exciting times. Next Tuesday, you're in the hot seat.
Next Tuesday, yep. Should be awesome.
I can't wait to see. To see. Tim, how about yourself? Tell us a bit about your last week. What's been happening?
It's been a busy week. Obviously, we're getting closer to the students' exhibitions at school, and we've come back from a week in the Blue Mountains. So we had the hike in Katoomba, 6-foot track, 40 kilometres. So lots to unpack from that as a group. Lots of lessons learned from everyone. It was a challenging hike, especially the last 2 kilometres of that steep ascent. Brought out some interesting characteristics in people, including myself.
And I do hear that lucky you had Inspire with Emi right near you so that she could inspire you to finish and to, get over your hurting bits and pieces and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the last kilometre I had some encouragement, much needed encouragement from Emi going up that hill.
That's fantastic. And as we spoke on the podcast earlier, or on a previous podcast, Emi was able to use her geniuses of galvanizing and enablement and really support the team to get excited. And last kilometre, let's go. And it sounds like it particularly worked for you, Tim.
Yeah, it was much appreciated.
Fantastic. My week's been pretty interesting. A standard week from a client and working with people, all that sort of stuff has been great. But I said last week I had my very first skin cancer check, which was weird because I'm 49 years of age, lived in Australia for quite a long time. And unfortunately, I had a skin cancer, which I've got to get treated with cream now. So in a couple of spots, which was really, my wife said to me, like, how does it feel to getting that sort of diagnosis? Well, actually, it's weird because the doctor didn't seem it was too much of an issue. It was like really early stage type stuff. But anyway, for those listening, if you spend too much time in the sun, it's probably best you use sunscreen and do all the right things because, if you can avoid these things, I guess it's better avoided. So anyway, interesting. Where everything else is good with kids. Not as much sleep as we'd like to have as normal. So meant I slept in this morning and I was a bit behind for everything that we're doing today. But anyway, we're finally here. So it sounds like we've all had very good, interesting weeks.
We have.
And Tim took his own children to mum and pup or grandma and grandpa's this morning and stuff. He had to travel a long commute next door. Is that right?
It is, yeah, long commute, long walk between fences.
You've always been a very efficient man, Tim, and that's taking it to extreme. So well done, buddy. All right, well, look, let's get into our topic today, which is the final 2 habits of highly effective people. And because Emi is the most conscientious and smartest person in the podcast today, she's going to tell us a little bit about the sixth habit, but the first one we're talking about today. What's that one?
Synergize or synergy.
Yep.
So this one is all about working together to achieve more. So having 2 things that could be done great alone, you put them together and they're even better. Yeah.
Teamwork type stuff.
Teamwork, yep. Open-mindedness, cooperation, the venture of finding new solutions to old problems.
So I know that there's been a couple of challenges. There's always challenges when new teams come together. Like your leadership team, for student leadership team, is a new team coming together. There's always a bit of sort of understanding each other and how we work and things like that. But how do you see this synergize and this 6th habit working in your student leadership team moving forward?
I think coming together as a group, we bring so many ideas to the table as well. And how can we put that forward for the school community? There's an analogy, which is instruments sound really good by themselves. You can play the drums, they sound awesome, and the guitar, and you put them together in a band and it creates a song and it creates a rhythm and they sound really good together. So I think with the whole school leadership team, bringing the ideas, bring people's different perspectives and opinions as well.
Again, you come with such great analogies. So, if one of those instruments is not firing, then just the music that comes out isn't as good, right? And that's the same with teams. If someone's a bit off their game, then you're not performing the best as a team. So how do you help people? How do you support someone to be better at that instrument or to be a better team member?
Yeah.
Great analogy.
Was.
Tim, you, I learned in the conversation we had pre-recording that you are actually a master black belt in the 7 habits of highly effective people. Is that right? Is that what they say?
I'm a facilitator of the 7 habits, so that okay. Translates to master black belt.
Absolutely. So you give us this synergize thing. Like, tell us a bit more in your language, or maybe as an approved facilitator. What is this? Why is it important?
So synergy is based on that the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. So individually, coming together, like Emi's analogy was perfect, really, is that the individual instruments sound fantastic on their own, but when they're together, they create beautiful pieces of music. So that's the same with the team. So Brendan, you may have a great idea and I might have a great idea, and we have 2 great ideas. But when we come together and discuss our ideas, we have the opportunity to create a 3rd idea, an idea that we wouldn't have come up on our own, but we had to come together and create a 3rd alternative. And that's the power of synergy. And the 7 habits is based on the maturity continuum. And when you're progressing through that maturity continuum, synergy is one of the final steps that you've come out of yourself, you've been proactive and you learn about yourself, and then you're thinking win-win, and you're working independently and then interdependent, from interdependence to independent, and then the synergy comes when you get through all those habits.
I love that again, and it sounds like you actually listened in your sort of facilitator class. Is that right? So even in this podcast, so if I take away from what both you and Emi have said, that Emi and I have been doing this podcast together for a few weeks, or a number of weeks now, and Emi's been co-hosting. Now that we've got this extra person here, you're basically saying that this podcast episode will be even better than what we've done before.
That's exactly right.
You are the maker. Hey? First podcast, and you've already made it way better. I love it.
Couldn't have done it without you 2, though.
No, mate. No, I know. As we said, you are, for when we put a few little video snippets on socials, you are the thorn between 2 roses today, aren't you?
I am very much.
And branding too. Got the Central Coast Sports College top on.
So on the clock today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you are. You are. So from my perspective, again, I guess I don't need to give my own definition. You guys have summed up really well. But one of the tools that I use in my own consultancy and when I'm working with teams and business leaders is called the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and it's a team assessment. So anybody who wants to look into that, a great book written by Patrick Lencioni. I won't go into all of those in detail today, but it's basically a tool that you learn dysfunction in teams. So you learn basically what impacts on synergy and synergizing in teams. And if you can overcome, you can understand, become more aware about what the dysfunctions are, and you identify those in teams, and you can work together and you will better synergize, meaning you'll have better outcomes, you'll have better conversations, you'll challenge each other around different topics, different issues that you're having in your business, and you'll be willing to take insight from other people. People will be more willing to share insight into what their view is based on their experiences. So there's a really great tool that can help with this habit of highly effective people synergizing to really understand that and to put that on steroids, so to speak. Sound fair?
Yeah.
Awesome. As far as, again, from a business owner perspective, like this Synergize thing has to be really important. Okay, I'll talk from Tim's perspective. You're not a business, well, you are a business owner, but let's talk from the angle of your advisor, teacher, and your role that you're doing. How important it is from a teaching group to have a level of synergy. So hopefully you're getting great outcomes as a collective, which leads to great outcomes for students.
Yeah, it's super important, and obviously, the bigger the team, the more you have to navigate as a group. So it's easier to synergize, I guess, with 3 people because we're only hearing a couple of different perspectives. But once we hear perspectives from 20 people, the power is obviously the potential to create solutions to the problems is greater, but getting there and navigating each person's idea and each person's perspective is a challenge. But the results are far better than you could ever imagine doing it on your own or in a pair. So the bigger the team, the bigger impact you can have, but the more challenging it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. The more personality you throw into that mix, it can be more challenging, can't it? Emi, let's put you back in the hot seat. So as far as your exhibition next week, there's been a fair bit of work that you've had to put in to get to that point, but nothing happens in isolation. How do you think sort of synergy and synergizing with others has been useful in what you're going to deliver as a fantastic presentation next week?
Using you, Brendan, and Tim as my mentors as well. So like getting information and research and working together, that's then brought me information to help create a presentation. Doing the podcast, we bounce different ideas off each other, and that's teamwork again in itself. Yeah, I think just working with different people to help create information and resources for my exhibition as well.
Absolutely. And you didn't mention your mum. Your mum's been really helpful with her feedback as well, hasn't she?
She has been. She's given lots of different feedback each week, going in there. Let's try breathing. Let's try listening to what's being said and then creating problems. So it's definitely, it makes you think about it, I think. It's very good advice.
Yeah, that's good. So mum's not appeared on this podcast yet, but she's giving some insight into the background as far as how the team can continue to improve.
Definitely. Yeah.
Love it. As I always say, do we need to say anything else more? Would anybody like to say anything more about Synergize, this 6 habit of highly effective people, before we move on to the 7th? Our advisor, Tim, would love to say more.
Always got something to say. Another analogy that is gets a lot of conversations in when I was facilitating the 7 habits is that if you have 2 people with the same opinion, one is useless. So there's and that can be quite confronting to people to hear. It's not saying that it's a bad thing, but it's just challenging your beliefs into you're not going to come up with new solutions if you have the same perspective. So there is benefit in hearing new perspectives and new ideas so that we can come up with solutions that we'd never thought of. I guess the idea is that open-mindedness is key to synergy. and being willing to be vulnerable enough to hear someone else's perspective and challenge your own beliefs as well.
Mate, you've already shown your value on this podcast. Absolutely. You're dropping some gold nuggets here. And back to I guess what I would say to that, back to the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And if the first dysfunction is what we call absence of trust, and that leads to a fear of conflict. So just speaking to your point that if people don't feel safe in the environment, then they'll question themselves about whether they'll raise their opinion. So, and if that opinion differs to what the group might be saying, but they've got this fantastic experience that the group's unaware of and they've really got some good insight, if they're not feeling safe, then they won't have that conflict. They'll avoid raising the issue or putting their 2 bobs forward, which means that you're not getting the best outcome. So the other side I'd say is you definitely don't want yes people in your team. You don't want to be leading a team that just sit there and nod. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full, sir. We want to get that diversity. We want to get that diversity of opinion.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Spot on. You're advising me very well, mate. I'm really picking up on your knowledge. So thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm sure the listeners are loving it as well. Absolutely. And your fellow cohort at school, all these students and teachers that will be listening as well. So we always give a bit of a shout out. Emi, is there a shout out you want to give today to anybody?
Mum, and her advice bringing into today. Listening to what you guys are saying and then giving. That was a bit of advice this morning for running out the door. So probably shout out to Mum today. Yeah.
Thanks, Janelle. We always appreciate the input.
We do.
Tim, who's your shout out for before we move on to the 7th habit?
Oh, shout out to the advisory, the mud eaters back at school. Been a big year and I think we're ending it well. So, shout out to those guys.
Well, I have to do the right thing and shout out to my lovely wife as well, who, when we do podcasts, because the studio home office doesn't have a door on it, she, if we've got sort of children around, she takes them all out for a period of time. And she generally always comes back when we're nearing the end and opens the door, and all of a sudden we've got all this banging and clanging at the end of the episode. But big shout out to her for doing that stuff so we can do this stuff. Awesome. Okay, our 7th habit. How about we start with Tim? He's the expert, apparently. What's our 7th habit, Tim? What's this other habit, the last habit of highly effective people?
So arguably one of the most important habits, it's sharpen the saw. So on the maturity continuum, it surrounds all the other habits. So without it, you cannot complete the rest of the 6 before. So it's interesting that you learn about it last, but without it, you will struggle to do the first. So that is, like I said, the most important of the habits to really look after yourself. And you learn about yourself through the 7 habits, which will then allow you to identify what areas of your life you can sharpen the saw with. So along the way, you'll learn about what's most important to you, what brings you the most joy, what you're trying to achieve, and what renews you. So again, along the way, you learn about daily renewal. What can you do to win the day? What are you achieving? What are you trying to do? And that allows you to be the best version of yourself.
Love it. You're definitely good. Emi, you've got some notes here as well. What's the student version of sharpening the saw?
I was actually looking into this habit yesterday, trying to get a better understanding of it. And I came across another analogy, this one's actually really good as well. So you think of a car and it has 4 wheels. So there's 4 dimensions of sharpen the saw. So it's physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional. And if one of your tires are flat on a car, if you're not like prioritizing, say, exercise or sleeping well, then your car's wonky. So I think keeping those 4 dimensions balance, like Tim said, to be the best version of yourself as well. And without 4 strong tires, you can't drive forward as well. So it's all about balance and, wanting to become the best version of yourself.
Honestly, where do you come up with these analogies? They're so good.
Love the internet. AI, it's so handy.
I mean, again, it just resonates with me. It cost me a fortune with my car yesterday with a few things that needed to be sorted. One of them was a nail in the tyre. So that wasn't operating at a best self, was it?
No.
Cost me about $1,600 to sharpen the saw.
Oh my God.
Not just for the tyre. Again, the people that do it are fantastic. It was a bit of work that needed to happen. But as cars get a bit older, there's always things to do, isn't there?
That's for sure.
Emi, your journey so far, I can be very confident that you've been sharpening the saw along the way, but what's your perspective on this? How have, whether it's podcasts, whether it's stuff we've been doing week to week, some of the stuff you have conversation with Tim, your advisor, about, like how has this worked for you? What have you been doing that I think sharpens your saw?
I think we've spoken before about asking people for feedback. I think that's another, like, that helps you become better as well, like understanding what others think of you, understanding what can I do better. If we speak about the captain's interview, going back and asking, what could have I done better, or what were you looking for in that position? I think as well, getting that feedback from others along the way.
Yeah, that is a fantastic insight. And I'm going to say it again, I'm a bit biased, but you definitely should have been school captain with that sort of attitude. I mean, how important is feedback?
So important. It helps you grow. It's lessons. It's different opinions, different perspectives as well.
It's the breakfast of champions,
isn't it?
Yep.
It is.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Hey, it's sometimes it's a tough breakfast to eat, but you've got to have that vulnerability, you've got that openness. And again, in the language we're talking today, if you're willing to sharpen the saw, i.e. improve yourself, there's no improvement without feedback. Let's put Tim in this hot seat. Tim, tell us about some bit of feedback. And again, feedback is not just constructive, it's appreciation type feedback as well. So you choose. Tell us about some feedback you've got that's either been appreciative, like, hey, you're awesome at this, keep doing it, or hey, here's an area that you could improve upon, therefore, i.e. sharpen your saw.
Yeah, I actually received some feedback last night from a student. It was a really, really thoughtful email that they took the time to write that had that acknowledged some challenges that we'd had throughout the year that we'd navigated and overcome, and we're at a point now where we've seen the benefit of having difficult conversations and challenging discussions, as hard as they are at the time. And we're not always perfect to deliver that feedback or receive that feedback, but I guess being mature enough to hear others, to take the feedback on, reflect on it, identify if it's actually something that resonates with you. And this student, had acknowledged that we'd gotten past some key issues that at the time were, I guess, maybe thought of as really hard to overcome, or if we could overcome them, and to personally reflect on where we're at the moment, and to show appreciation of honesty and trust. So yeah, that was a fresh bit of feedback that I got, which was really nice to hear, and it's really inspiring to have teenagers that are willing to critically reflect and give feedback to adults. So as much as sometimes you don't want to hear the feedback, or feedback can be challenging, I was inspired that I actually got feedback from a student because it just shows their growth.
Yeah, once again, another great example. And I have to say, testament to yourself. You've obviously built a strong enough relationship. You mentioned the word trust. There's trust there. There's trust there that you've developed over time and have these relationships with the students. I know you've got a fantastic relationship with Emi, but being willing to have that tough conversation from time to time. But as I said, it's more always about the tough conversation. It's also like, Tim, I really love when you do this for me. It's so helpful. It's really given me some energy to do stuff. And I know, again, Emi talks very, very fondly of you. I'm not going to ask her to say that on camera and a recording, because we don't want your head to get too big. So she can share it with you, privately. We don't want to record that sort of stuff, Emi, do we? No, he'll just listen to that part of the podcast all the time. But look, it's a fantastic point. There's no improvement without feedback. So sharpen the saw in that whole context. If you can't learn to be good at asking, which is a really simple thing, but being open and vulnerable to whatever the response might be, then there is no improvement. And at the bottom of that triangle in the 5 dysfunctions, you mentioned it, that trust, you've got to have a layer of trust in order to be able to have the confidence to share the feedback, but also the person receiving it has to have the level of trust that the person has the right intent in giving that feedback. Because I've seen situations where even appreciative type feedback cannot be taken in a good light because the relationship has been strained. So it's sort of like, oh, you just, taking the piss, or you don't mean it. The intent's not there. So it can work two ways.
Did you guys cover the emotional bank account along the way?
Yes, Emi did mention the emotional bank account. What would you like to say about the emotional bank account?
Just with that feedback that you said that if the trust is not there, the feedback, even if it is positive, might not be well received. So always mindful of the relationship that you have and how many deposits have you made into that relationship, or you've built that emotional bank account up so that if something does go wrong and you do make a withdrawal, that things still move forward. And then if you've got an empty bank account and you do try to make a deposit, sometimes it's not well received because you've taken too many things out of that relationship.
Yeah, great point. The input from my side and relating back to business, and I wouldn't have a business if I didn't know business owners that are willing to sharpen their saw. They wouldn't come to me and want to try and learn to improve about how they're leading their team, how they're growing their business, all that sort of stuff. And thankfully, they're willing to pay a little bit of money for that every now and again too. So that helps me put some food on the table from time to time. Emi, is there anything else you'd like to say about sharpening the saw?
I think lastly, just going into the different 4 dimensions that I mentioned earlier. So your first one's like physical. So sharpening that blade physically ensures your body has strength and vigor. I don't even know what that word says.
Vigor.
Needs to take on life. So it's all about exercising, getting enough sleep, eating the right food. And what can you do physically to make sure that yourself is okay? The next one being spiritual, sense of purpose, who you are, why you do, reconnecting with yourself, with nature, maybe going for a walk or something like that, just finding your purpose again as well. Mental, so mind works. I thought this one was really interesting. If you ever find that your mind's really flat or you're just not interested, sometimes you need to challenge it or find something else to redo again. So refreshing it, it's all about refreshing it and keeping it sharpen the saw fresh as well. And giving insights that can loop back for success. So if you're trying different things, you might be thinking about stuff that could help loop back to what you're doing. So just trying different things in your mind and challenging it as well. And the last one being your social and emotional factor. So interacting with human people and all about relationships. Going out with a friend, doing something with people. It's that social networking again and the connections that we make with people. I think just balancing it all out. And without one of those factors, it's very hard to drive forward like a car.
Love it again. What's one thing that you've done, Emi, today that has helped in one of those 4 areas?
That's a great question. Had a good breakfast. So eating a healthy breakfast.
You always eat pretty clean, don't you?
Most of the time, yes.
I'm sitting there having a coffee. Emi's having her water.
Lemon with water, I don't.
Tim, what about you? What's one thing you've done today in one of those 4?
I had a 5-minute cold shower this morning. So it's a bit of a mental challenge for me. So going at the moment doing 30 days of 5-minute cold showers. And just with those dimensions that Emi mentioned, how important it is to hit all 4. So it's super easy to, when we feel like we have some mental load or we're not feeling our greatest, we'll jump to the physical. So we'll jump to exercise, we'll jump to nutrition, which is fantastic and important. But you really can't neglect the other 3 dimensions to really feel your best and to get the most out of yourself. So those mental challenges, cold showers, ice baths, whatever, it kind of resonates with you. when you're planning your week, those big rocks,
Yeah.
the for the Sharpen the Saw is you need to put those big rocks in your calendar and making sure that you're addressing every dimension. Because I'm guilty of it. We'll just focus on not the easy ones, but the ones that are come to us the easiest. But I guess making sure, especially the spiritual one. So we get caught up with the spiritual one being religious, but spirituality isn't always attended and aligned with religion. If you are religious, then that's an easy one for you to achieve. Which you do prayer or however you go about that with your religion, but spiritual can be meditation, yoga, connecting with nature, hikes. So it's important to hit that, and it's probably for me it's one of the hardest to hit. But if I don't hit it, I still don't feel like I've fully sharpened the saw. So it's a good reminder to get all four in.
Yeah, spot on. And I guess two things. This morning for me was actually sleeping in. My wife allowed me to sleep in. It had been a bit of a rough night with the young one. So it did put me behind in pretty much everything I was doing today, but I obviously needed the sleep. So that was a bit of physical pep up that I needed with more sleep. So that was good. The other thing that I found really interesting over the time, and I have no scientific research to back this up, but historically, as I've seen leaders that I've either worked with or interacted with, that physical to me has always been a really strong indicator of their quality of leadership. So self-leadership first and foremost, absolutely, but then how that flows on to their business, their team, all that. So this is where, again, I love your point that there's this whole interconnected atmosphere of those four elements. But my experience says that physical is the most obvious one to see, right, from a physically fit side of things. Mentally, okay, have some conversation, you can maybe identify some things. But yeah, I've always found that when somebody is physically not sharpening the saw, let's say, using today's language, that always flows on into so many other aspects of their life, how they lead their business, how they lead their people, decisions they make, everything.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? You guys are so physically fit, so I'm not making those judgments of you guys.
Great point. And you don't often see, you see it, but being aware of it and the way you stated it there, it's very true. We see it at school, and you probably see it as well in the business. So that was a very good point. Yeah.
Thank you, Emi. So I do say a few decent things on the podcast from time to time. All right. So Sharpen the Saw, we've been talking for how long we been going now? 33 minutes. What else would we like to say before we start to wrap up about sharpening the saw, or even just closing around the 7 habits in general on this sort of, you could say, mini-series that we've done with Tim being the special guest? There's always someone that comes in at the end and sort of wants the glory, isn't there?
I know. What? He's done a great job.
What takeaway would you like to leave our listeners, Tim, with just either these last 2 habits that we've spoken about, or just the 7 habits in general?
Biggest thing is to hopefully along the way you've personally reflected on what your passions and interests are, and the connections. You've reflected on the important things in your life, and then you're beginning to acknowledge the importance of planning your week, and making sure you are addressing those important big rocks in your life, family, your career, your pets, whatever is a key aspect of your life, making sure that they are in your calendar each week as a big rock that can't be moved. And then by doing that, you are achieving Sharpen the Saw, and you will be able to do all those rest of your tasks that are important in the week to the best of your ability by looking after yourself.
Great takeaway. Emi, what would you like to leave our listeners with?
I thought that was great. I think he summed it up very well. I think left me speechless there. It was very good. Yeah, very good sum up, it sounds like, anyway.
Left you speechless?
I know. That was.
It doesn't sound like you're very speechless.
Now I am.
Have you got a final thought?
I think even if you can understand a little bit of even one of the habits, it will help. It will give you a different different aspect to what you do each day, to how you balance yourself. I think just understanding what they are can help have an impact on you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, flowing on from that, again, I would just say to people, the takeaway is that just start small, right? And maybe the easiest thing is to sharpen the saw. You know, it might mean that rather than sleeping in because you don't need it, if you do, take it. But yeah, maybe if you're even just starting your day 30 minutes earlier, and that means just reading a book for 10 of those 30 minutes, some educational thing that you're interested in, or doing a little bit of exercise, you know, even just some, you know, up and down jumps or something like that, star jumps if that's where you start from, but just something to start to improve yourself, and then other things can start to flow from there. You know, we go back to number one, being proactive, or be proactive about making decisions on that. So like anything, any good change starts with the small change, and then you can build momentum from there. So if this sort of stuff is interesting to people, and again, the majority of our audience generally are business owner type people in business leading teams, although we've got this massive cohort now of student leaders out there that are listening to us off the back of these episodes. So just start small. You don't need to make significant changes straight away. Start small. Hopefully this episode and the 2 episodes before this, as we've spoken about the 7 habits of highly effective people and broken that down, that we've given a bit of insight that actually there's some really simple stuff that is relatable to these 7 habits in everyday life. I guess this is why it's such a powerful framework for business, for life, for, you know, a pathway for just how you operate generally, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, I think that's all we need to say about this. I guess given that this is Tim's very first podcast, we should just ask him about his experience of podcasting before we close out. Tim, how have you felt on your very first podcast?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Definitely a new experience hearing yourself through some earphones and hearing your voice back towards yourself. But really, really good conversation. I've enjoyed the experience.
Excellent, mate. Well, what we expect as part of the process of sharpening the saw is what I've found in podcasting for several years now, there's nothing quite like listening back to an episode, particularly when it's unedited when I'm listening to it, but just listening back and, I really like how I said that, or maybe I can improve myself there. So listening back to yourself or watching a bit of video, there's nothing more powerful getting that confronting feedback straight away. Like what you see is what you get. So I definitely encourage you to do it, buddy.
I will.
You definitely. It's the only episode you're going to listen to, isn't it?
I've listened to it. What am I, three in to the journey?
Yeah. You're a true
behind.
Look, you're a great teacher. You're a true supporter of your students. So well done on what you're doing, and well done on Central Coast Sports College for what they're doing with the different sort of willing to push the boundaries of education, those sorts of things. So it's really powerful stuff. Love what they continue to do up there. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. If you, again, like what you're hearing, feel free to give us a like or a rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. As a friendly reminder, I am running, again, our Master One-on-One Meetings program, become a Master Black Belt in running one-on-one meetings and having a complete system to get the best out of your team. So that starts again I launched that again in February 2025. So you can join the waitlist at leaderbydesign.au/waitlist, and you'll start to receive a bit more information about it. So again, thank you very much for listening. Emi, thank you very much for co-hosting again.
Thank you for having me again.
So awesome to have you. Tim,
is.
thank you for co-hosting.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, it's been a pleasure and an absolute honour that both Emi and I are your first.
Yeah.
Everyone, thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Goodbye.
In the hybrid working world, I've seen too many business owners and their businesses suffer because of poor performing employees, leading to below average results. If you want to improve your employees' performance to deliver consistent results for your business, you have to master one-on-one meetings. The doors to our Master One-on-One Meetings training program are opening soon. I'll teach you how to improve employee performance and deliver consistent results using one-on-one meetings. To be one of the first people notified when the doors open, go to leaderbydesign.au waitlist. Don't wait, sign up now.